Are you ready to meet the most important person you're ever going to meet? Are you ready to meet your best friend, your soulmate, that one person that we're all seeking that helps fill that hole within us, that person that makes us feel less empty, less lonely? Well, welcome. My name is Tracy and I'm a relationship coach for women. And what exactly does that mean? Well, I work with women who primarily have been traumatized in some sort of way, whether that comes from abuse, whether that looks like PTSD, complex PTSD, or just wanting to meet that important person, right? That person that lights us up, that person that gets us. And we want someone kind, someone respectful, someone who can support us and motivate us, inspire us. What if I told you that person is you? You are your best friend. You are your soulmate. You are the most important person you will ever meet because you are the one person that you can't get away from. So what does that bring up for you? Not too long ago, I would have said that really scared me. Or I thought that I already knew myself. And you may want to click away. You may want to say, I've heard all of this before, blah, blah, blah. But do you really, really get how important it is to meet yourself, to meet who you really are? Throughout our lives, whether or not we've experienced trauma or not, take on different identities through different roles or things we read or feel that are pushed upon us by our friends, families, society, right? The media. We take on personality traits. We take on characteristics from other people that we admire or don't admire. We long to be like this person because we think maybe they have it easier, right? Or maybe we want that profession and we see someone who we want to emulate. So we take on those personality traits. And where has that left us? I know for me, it's made me feel like, in the end, who am I? Am I just what other people think that I am? Or is there something more? And we can take on these different identities to feel good about ourselves and to feel good about the relationships that we have, right? Whether they're friends or with a spouse or with a partner. So when we are putting on these different identities, they can serve us for a purpose, right? They can help us with the new job. They can help us with being the best version of ourselves. But are we really embodying that fully? I know for years, that whole philosophy embodiment was really just unknown. Healing today as we know it was down to talk therapy, right? Going to a therapist and talking it out and maybe feeling better for a little bit, but never feeling that full release. Same thing with taking on these different identities and different roles. We might aspire, we might take that on and feel better about that ourselves, but the change doesn't really stick, right? And in essence, it's because we haven't felt safe to be who we are. And what does that mean? We all know that physical safety is something that a lot of us try to be very aware of, whether or not we're in in an environment where there is abuse and neglect, whether or not we are in a work environment where there's workplace bullying and harassment, whether or not you're in school and there's fist fights every day. The physical safety as we know it is something that we can really tune into. Now, some of us are conditioned to remain in those and you're working your way out of that. But safety doesn't just stop with the physical, right? Safety is how you feel within. Safety is the emotions, the mental, the spiritual, right? Do you feel safe in your own body, in your own skin? And chances are, if you've tried on a lot of identities and you have felt like you really have not met yourself, then chances are probably not, right? You haven't really met yourself, maybe parts of yourself, and you're getting to know yourself, but do you really know that, first of all, you are divine within? That is your soul essence of really who you are. But then there's your personality and those things that you choose to take on. So for women, especially those that have been traumatized through abuse, neglect, especially in childhood, we can take on these different personas to feel safe, so that maybe we don't want to be seen, right? Maybe it's not safe to be heard either. Maybe being seen is something that has drawn negative attention. It's drawn that abuse. It's drawn that neglect, where we're thus thinking, gosh, if people see me, I mean, there must be something about me, right? If people see me, they're not going to like me. They're not going to reject me, thus leading us to reject ourselves, right? Whether or not it's our looks, how we respond, how we talk, how we show up. As a child, I was given a dog bone for Christmas one year. I was told I was so ugly. And that left a deep scar on me. And even though you can do the healing work and go through that, if you let that take root, it causes a lot of bitterness, and it is so programmed, your subconscious, it's hard. Like, so fast forward decades later, it can be hard to show up to do what you're passionate about, right? Even to show up here on YouTube for people to see. There's always that, oh God, I'm ugly. What are people going to think? Am I good enough? And how sad is that, right? But how important is it to rectify that within ourselves, to reconcile that within ourselves, so that we can start showing up for ourselves and then the relationships. But you got to start showing up for the relationship you have with yourself, right? Do you trust yourself? Do you abandon yourself? How do you talk to yourself? If you really take inventory of that, really separate yourself, take yourself out of the picture and really observe and be aware. Would you want to be your own best friend from the way you talk to yourself? Would you be supportive of that? Chances are probably not. So how can you ask someone else to show you that love and support that you don't give to yourself? So beloved, if you're single, whether or not you've been single a long time or you're considering getting out of a relationship, really consider taking that time to get to know yourself. And for some of you, it may just be the first step of being willing to really look at yourself. And I don't just mean in the mirror and how you look. I mean all your flaws and all your beauty, because it all works together to make the beautiful person that you are. And sometimes that's where you need to start. And there's a lot of wonderful tools out there. Mirror work is a wonderful tool. Any kind of NLP, any kind of coaching that can help you meet yourself where you're at and learn to, in some cases, radically accept who you are and really be willing to see, to take off those layers so that you can draw in, you can attract those people you want to have relationships with. So be the person that you need to be to yourself first, right? I myself, even as a relationship coach, have been through a couple of marriages, and I can truly say, looking back, I had no clue who I was. In those moments, I was who I needed to be, and those people served a purpose. But now that I have done a lot of the healing work and met myself, and don't get me wrong, there's still work to do, right? I'm still working on my divine feminine. It was grossly damaged. My identity was grossly damaged as a child, where I didn't even want to be a woman. I didn't want to be a man, but I didn't want to be a woman because it drew negative attention, even to the point where it was disgusting to me to have children. It was disgusting to me to think about nursing a child, because it just meant, oh, I'm a woman. There's something wrong, tainted and gross about that, when it's a beautiful thing. So, but through the healing, I have drawn in my soulmate, and I can't tell you how beautiful that is. And I just am in awe and wonder of how God, the universe, works when you're willing to open yourself up to see those things. And I've learned to be more vulnerable and more intimate with myself so that I can bring that into my marriage. It's not perfect, but it's being perfectly crafted. And because of his love, it started with me showing up. But because of his love, I am feeding into him. He's feeding into me, making me feel supported, making me feel seen, making me feel safe. So you've got to feel safe within yourself. And then that attracts the right people that can really magnify that, enhance it, and make it exponentially grown to the point where it just exudes from you, and that confidence is attracts more and more, and you start manifesting the people and things that you want in your life. So it's really showing up and being willing to see yourself. So what kind of relationship do you have with yourself? Are you avoiding, or are you meeting yourself? Maybe taking yourself out on dates, maybe leveling up the self-care that you have, right? Not just bubble baths, but allowing yourself to be recorded, allowing yourself to relax and have fun. But you need to feel safe within yourself. So how would you measure the safety that you're feeling? Are you safe to be with yourself? What does that look like for you? You might want to consider journaling or doing some mirror work around what does safety look like for you, and in what ways have you not shown up for yourself? How have you abandoned yourself? And how have you met yourself where you're at, being willing to take that next step forward? Beloved, I truly hope that you can create a safe environment within yourself to process what you need to process, a safe environment for you to live, work, breathe, and play, because our outside environment can help support us, right? Our internal is where we're living. We can't escape from ourselves, right? But that gets mirrored out. So create a safe environment around you so that when you look, it might feel less intimidating. It might feel more safe, even if you're feeling chaotic, right? Creating those safe places for yourself and identifying who those safe people are to talk to. Start small. Maybe just share something small and vulnerable to open yourself up and not expect perfect back. Really start looking at how you're speaking to yourself and how you're showing up for yourself, and become your own best friend and soulmate. And it will enhance the relationships you bring in and your current relationships if you are already in one. You will see that it is better, and that will inspire them to be better.